Hello everyone, welcome again to another series of video from Electronics Eternity. In this video around we'll be looking at L293D. So let's get right into it. Okay, so uh, if you can see on the left hand side, what we have is the pin arrangement. So let's just go through one by one. Right, so we can see we have enable as the first pin. We also need to know that there's another enable pin. So basically what enable 1 and enable 2 does is it's enable each side of the L293D chip, right? So it's as simple as that. Okay, so and next we have input 1 and input 2. So input 1 and input 2 is a pair, right? So this is a pair in terms of input that will decide the direction of the motor. For example, the motor could be spinning in clockwise direction, and it could also spin in anti-clockwise direction, right? So and after that is output. So output 1 will be connected to the output 1 and output 2 will be connected to the same DC motor, and the same over here, output 3 and output 4 will be connected to another DC motor, right? So it's this is for the connection to the DC motor that we have, right? So next is ground. So it's important that all ground pins are connected to the ground. For example, if you're using both sides of the L293D, it's important for you to connect all ground pins to the ground, right? So just keep that in mind. Uh, and then output we have covered, input we have covered. Next is VS. So VS is more like secondary voltage, right? So if your DC motor needs a bit more power to run, you can supply it through here. Okay, so VSS is just basically the power supply that is needed for the IC to operate. So it's always around 5 to, I think if I'm not mistaken, 8 or 12, right? You can always check the data sheet. So for the chip to operate, you need to supply 5 volts to VSS, and for your motor, if it needs some extra power supply, you just need to connect to VS. Okay, so that's pretty much about the pin, right? On the other side, it's just the same reflection of what we have in on the left side, right? So as you can see, there's input, outputs, ground, and enable pin as well. So it's exactly the same and it behaves the same way. So for one side, you can use it to control one motor. So if you have another one motor, you can use it to control by having the pin connected to the left side, right? So it's this pin can be used to connect two DC motors. Okay. Uh, now let's go to the right side. So on the right side, I have this diagram over here, right? So which I created for the ease of understanding. So we know that L293D can is an IC that can be used to control motor spin direction. For example, anti-clockwise and clockwise, right? So how it works is, if you can see, pin 3 and pin 7 over here are connected to the DC motor, right? So if you want the motor to spin in a clockwise direction, it would be giving positive supply over here, and then here will be the negative terminal, right? So if it were to change direction, then the pin number 3 over here will become the negative terminal, and pin number 6 over here will become the positive terminal, right? So it has the capability of changing that polarity depending on what is the input 1 and input 2, right? Input 1 is pin number 2 and input 2 is pin number 7. So you can change these pin values from high to low or low to high depending on what direction that you want your DC motor to spin, right? So I just created this picture so that you can illustrate and understand how does it work. So in simple terms, we can say that L293D IC has the capability to change the polarities of pin 3 and pin 6 in order to influence the direction of the motor spin, right? Okay, so I guess that's about it that I would like to cover. Now let's dive straight into the code.
Okay, just another thing to share before I get into the code is this schematic that I have. So this will help you to like set up your circuit and then use my code, right? So my code will work this arrangement. I know it's a bit confusing, but once you like spend some time working on it, and based on the pin configuration arrangements that I have explained earlier, you'll understand this circuit connection better. Okay, so I will make this available in the blog for your reference as well, so no worries. Now let's move on to the code then. Okay, so this is the code that I have prepared, right? So basically A1 is for my joystick, right? I'm using a joystick to control the direction. So if I push the joystick forward, then my motor is gonna spin clockwise. So if it's backward, then it's gonna just spin anti-clockwise, right? Just the reverse of the direction. Okay, so that's for A1 is to just read the input from a joystick. As you can see from the schematic earlier, there is a joystick that I'm using. Okay, so serial begin is 9600, the default. X key is an input. Pin 2345 is just the output. So this pin will be connected to the. Let me just show the circuit again, right, for the ease of understanding. Okay, so pin 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be connected to pin 2 and 7. So this is the input pins, and the same for pin 4 and 5 is connected to pin. What number pin is this? This is 10 and 17. Okay, so sorry, 10 and 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so it's going to be 10 and 15. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, and 5, depending on its state, whether it's high or low, it's going to determine the direction of motor spin. Okay, so
Okay, so looking at the code over here, right? So the first instruction is to just read whatever input that we have from the joystick and then display in a serial monitor. This is not compulsory. You can take it out if you want, but if you'd like to see what are the readings from serial monitor, you can just have this over here. Okay, so the first if over here is if nothing happens. For an example, when the joystick knob is not being pushed forward or backward, it's gonna give some value around 400 to 500 or possibly even 600. So just to be safe, the moment the value hovers around 400 to 600, it's gonna basically do nothing. It's gonna just write all the input pins to low. Okay, so this is I've just created this to prevent unnecessary overactivity in the motor, right? So I've created this first line, right? However, if changes in detected beyond that level, for example, if I move that joystick knob forward, the value is going to fall below 400, and when that happens, I want my motor to move forward, right? So in order for the motor to move forward, 2 needs to be low, 3 needs to be high, 4 needs to be low, and 5 needs to be high. Okay, based on the schematic arrangement, this is how it should be. And the same if I push it backward, the value, if I push the joystick knob backward, the value is going to shoot above 600, and it's the pin state is going to be the opposite of this because I'm changing the exact direction of what we can see over here. Okay, so the code is pretty simple and straightforward. I've done the code in such a manner just to give you uh, a simple and straightforward understanding on how this L293D works. Okay, so next let's look at the real result when I actually, when I actually play with my joystick. How does my motor spins and everything? All right, so let's get to it then.
Okay, so this is how the circuit looks like, right? So uh, don't be overly bothered about these radio modules and servos that I have over here. This is just an RC car that I've done myself. I'm just using it to illustrate this, right? So, but either way, you can use that connection that I have given earlier, You can get it from my blog as well. So I'm just showing you this just to uh, illustrate how it will work when I push the joystick knob forward and backward, right? Okay, so I have my joystick over here. So I'm just gonna show you what happens if I push the knob forward. As you can see, my car goes forward, and if I push it backward, so it goes backward, right? It's as simple as that. So as you can see, the code works, and the arrangement works as well. Okay, so I guess that's all for the video today. Good luck trying, and in case if you have any questions, feel free to shoot it out in the comment. I'll try my very best to help. Until then, see you guys again. Thank you and bye bye.